Hi, my name is Steve, and today we're taking a look at the Gevi Espresso machine with automatic milk frother. And about a year ago, I purchased a very similar model to this and did a full review of it. I'll have a link to the video here as well as down in the description. And with full disclosure, Gevi reached out to me and asked if I was interested in their latest model to see if I would do a review and an overview. Now, Gevi does not have any input into this video. These are all my own impressions and review, and Gevi isn't seeing this video prior to me posting it. So with that, let's get started and take a look. So going out to Amazon and looking at the different Gevi espresso machines can be a little bit confusing. There's several models that look very similar, and here is the current model that Gevi sent. And right now you can see this has the steam wand, that is the automatic steam wand. If I go over and now look at the next one up in the listing, you can see the difference in the steam wand. Everything else on the machine is identical. The same portafilter, the same base, the same everything. The other difference from the previous model to this model is they have done some different updated information within their printed manual, and I would highly recommend you go through this to help get set up initially. And I thought it might be interesting to compare this to the Aero Press. Do a little bit of a comparison to see what's the coffee like, what's the process like, and maybe hopefully give you a little different perspective on is this a device you would be interested in. There are two additional items that I purchased and I'm going to be using that did not come with this device. One is a milk frothing pitcher. It's not necessarily required, but this does not come with the device. The other is a hand grinder, as I am going to be using whole bean coffee. This is not an expensive hand grinder. This is not an espresso grinder. And I'll have a link down below just so you can see the specifications of this grinder. And I'm going to be using this in this demonstration. And so before we get started, always wash all the equipment down, take the water tank off, wash it in the sink with some soap and water, wash out all of the portafilter and the baskets, run some water through the machine just to make sure it's clean before you start making your initial espresso. The other recommendation I have, reading in the manual and want to make sure you do, is descaling these devices. The nice thing with the Gevi machine is after a certain number of hours of usage, it does beep 3 times. So if you're making an espresso and hear these 3 beeps and aren't sure what they mean, it's typically going to mean it's time to do a descaling process. So to get started, to show you what I'm using, I am not going to use any specialty coffee beans. I am going to be using coffee that I bought at Costco. This is Colombian Supremo whole bean coffee, nothing special, and we'll try the Aero Press first. Then we'll do the Gevi espresso machine and compare the two. I am going to do everything on a scale. This isn't required, but this will help you know how much coffee I'm using with the scoop that comes with the Aero Press versus the Gevi recommended amount with their scoop. So we'll place the container, tear the scale, we'll do everything in grams. I'm going to take the Aero Press scoop. Now the Aero Press recommends 2 scoops. There's 1, there's 2. Now that's coming out at 23 grams of coffee, which is a lot more than we're going to be using on the Gevi. So we'll kind of keep that in mind, but I'm going to grind this and we'll make the Aeropress coffee. So now we're going to try the Gevi Espresso machine. I'm going to use the same beans, the same grind settings, but I'm now going to use the Gevi recommended dosage for how many beans. So again, we're going to tare the scale. I am going to use the 2-cup basket. So they recommend 2 scoops. So there's 1, there's 2. That comes out to almost 15 grams of coffee. Now I do have some concerns because I doubt I'm going to be able to get 15 grams of coffee into this basket. So I'm going to grind this. We're going to try to fill the basket and then see how much I was actually able to get in there. But from my previous video, I was able to get a maximum of probably 12 to 14 grams. So we're now going to take the double cup basket, slide it in, turn it 90 degrees so that it stays in place, and start scooping in to see how much this basket will actually hold. As you can see, it gets very difficult to start putting things. So this is where something like a dosing funnel would be very helpful. So we're at 9.5 at the moment. I'm probably going to have to tamp this slightly before trying to add more. Otherwise, it's just going to make a big mess. Tamp it slightly. At the moment, we're at 11.2. And I've got a little bit of headspace in there, which is good. So I don't think I want to do the full. I am going to try going to probably about 12 or 13. We're going to take and tamp that. Level it out a bit. You don't need to press super hard, you just want to get it level. And I want a little bit of headspace to the top of the portafilter. I don't want it up to the very rim. So I am going to go with that as my starting point. That's going to give us 13 grams of coffee. And now we'll take and get the espresso machine going. If you find it extremely difficult to attach the portafilter, don't force it. It means you have too much coffee grounds in the basket and it's hitting the group head. So you want to remove some of the grounds and make sure when you tamp, it's level with the top of the basket, if not a little below. Then you should be able to attach the portafilter with little resistance. We'll take one of our cups, try to line it underneath. And we're going to hit the double cup button. We will do a brief pre-infusion of the coffee grounds. And out comes your espresso. You can see the pressure gauge is going up into the espresso range. It's not into the red, so that's good. So we'll now take a look at what the output volume was. We'll tare the scale using one of the other glasses. And we're getting about 80 grams. grams. 13 grams of coffee grounds to 80 grams of water of coffee coming out. That's a very big ratio. So now we want to take a look at the steam milk frothing wand. First of all, I do like the flexibility in this arm. There's quite a bit of movement. I can easily get it maneuvered over the drip tray to eject any water and milk and clean it. And then you've got a wide range of motion from front to back, up and down, so that as you have your cup and different angles, it really makes it easy to move the wand anywhere you need it. Now you do have different uses for the steam wand, and one is just simply for hot water. So you can use that for an Americano. If you pull a shot, you just want to do an Americano and add some water to it. So once everything is turned on and the lights are blue, you simply position your cup. You don't have to press any buttons, you just flip the lever. And that's going to, you'll hear the pump, and now you can see it's just simply putting hot water through the machine. Now I don't know what the temperature of the water is. I looked on the Gevi manual and I didn't see anything that tells you the temperature, but if anybody does know, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd be curious myself. And now we'll take a look at the milk frothing options that are available. And in order to use this for frothing or heating milk, you do need to, once all the lights are blue, you're going to want to press the steam button on the far right. That's going to flash a little while until it's solid white, which tells you the machine is ready. And then in the manual, there are 3 modes that you can use for frothing and heating milk. When the wand is turned to the cup facing this white line, you are in the automatic frothing mode. If you twist that over so that now it's a cup that looks like it's got some steam coming off of it, that is just to heat the milk. So it doesn't do the frothing. So what I take it is in the heat mode, the milk heating mode, you're not getting any air. You're just getting the heat from the steam wand. When you turn it over to the frothing icon and the single cup, it is now going to be adding air into the process, which is what creates the froth. So we'll do some testing on that. And then the last thing you can do is you can actually remove that entire wand, and you can use this in manual mode. So now you are in kind of full control. Now, I'm not going to necessarily test the manual mode. I did a little bit with the other machine I had. I do feel the other machine had a little more quality, higher end manual mode wand. But if you're looking at this machine, it is still an option as you learn and get better at milk frothing, and could be an option for you to try. So let's get some milk and let's test out the auto frothing. Okay, so I now have my milk poured into my milk pitcher. I am using 2% milk versus whole milk. I personally don't care for whole milk, so I am using 2%. You can try different milks and experiment with this. That's part of the nice thing of having a machine like this. I'm using almost 10 ounces, about 300 milliliters of milk. I think that's more than I need. I've made a single shot espresso that I'm now going to try the automatic frothing process and see how this works. So the first thing we have to do is heat up the steam wand, and the instructions essentially tell you to put this cup under here, lift it with both hands, and you're going to hold it underneath. And as it froths, it's going to heat up, and when it gets too hot to hold for 3 seconds, turn it off and you should be done. It also says to dip the end of the frothing wand about 3 to 4 centimeters. Now, that's very difficult to judge. I do wish they had some sort of a scribed line or something on the wand to show you approximately what that depth should be. So while this does do some automated things, you're still having to figure out a little bit of experimentation with how much milk, how deep the wand should be. And we're going to listen for the different noises. Since this is going to be pulling air in, you don't want to hear this above the milk and you'll hear more air noise. I'm going to let you hear it as I do this. So we're going to give it a try. We're going to put it in. Going to do our best. I can't see real well here. To about there. I'm not going to try to control where it is around the rim. I'm not going to tip the glass any specific way. I'm kind of holding this so the camera can see it. So we're going to test it and see what we get. You can hear the air. Now to get a swirl, I'm going to hold it a little bit to the side. And you can now see the bubbles starting to form. So as it's frothing the milk, I'm still waiting for the heat. And that's starting to feel pretty hot. So I'm going to stop it. You want to clean off the wand. So the nice thing here, you can lift that, just get a rag. You can bring it over to the tray and then just run it through with a cloth to help kind of clean some of that off, clean off the wand. And at some point you're going to want to then probably remove this, clean out the wand in your sink, wipe down the inside of that. I'm not going to try to do any latte art. That is not my specialty. So I'm just going to pour it in. Have way more than I need for this cup, but that's okay. I almost made a heart, and I didn't even try. As I was doing my testing, I did come across an error where some of the lights weren't working. So after I ran the steam wand and was frothing my milk, I was going to make an espresso. And when I came back to try to make an espresso, I got this red flashing light on the start button as well as the blue flashing lights. And so I was able to determine that it appears to be a temperature sensor issue, that you need to flush the steam wand before you try to make another espresso. So I'm going to turn the steam wand back on to get rid of the flashing lights. I'm going to get everything back to where it's blue, and I am just going to run the steam wand with water. So until I see water start coming out. So it took a little bit, but that ejects all of the steam that's maybe backed up within the machine. Now if I put my cup under and just try to run an espresso, it works correctly. So if you do run across that after doing some steaming, hopefully that will help you reset the machine. It's not actually broken and just a nuance, but they did not have any of those instructions in the manual. I had to figure that out for myself. So after all of that, I now have a single dose espresso made out of the Gevi. I also have the Aeropress coffee that I made and a double espresso with the milk frothing to top it off. So let's see how all of it tastes. And while taste is extremely subjective and everybody's going to have their own opinions on it, I felt the single shot espresso using the pressurized portafilter basket actually has more body to it, a little bit more flavor to it. The Aero Press, now that I'm used to a little bit better espresso, I'm noticing it's a little more flat. It gets rid of the bitterness. It has a nice smooth flavor to it, but it's not as much of a flavor. And I actually really enjoy the milk drinks with this frother. When I had the previous device, I had that for over a year, and I actually never used the steam wand and the milk frother, even though it was a little bit higher end steam wand frother wand than this device. I strictly used it for espresso. And so my final thoughts and just comments on the Gevi ECMA0. I really feel this is targeted to people that are maybe looking to step up from the Aeropress, maybe looking to start getting into making some milk drinks, get away from buying their coffee at the coffee shops, and trying to make some of the same coffee at home. What I like about it is the same as what I liked about the previous model. I like that it has a pressure gauge. I don't know how many bars of pressure it's actually using, but when I adjust the grind size, I do notice some differences in the pressure. So I can see, am I doing things consistently? I like this new automated frothing wand. While I wouldn't say it's 100% automated, you still have to feel the bottom of the cup to know when you're at the right temperature, and it's going by the feel on your hand on the cup, and everybody has different sensitivity to that. So getting it in the right temperature window for the milk is still a little bit of experimentation, but it does a good job of adding the froth automatically to the milk. I'm not trying to learn as much of how to use it. And so for somebody who wants a little bit easier way of making your coffee drinks without having to learn all the nuances of getting into espresso, I do like this machine. I like the form factor. I like the fact that it's stainless steel, the look, the feel. It's well built, it's solid. I had my previous device for over a year, and as long as you follow the cleaning instructions and you do the descaling when it tells you, it should last you a long time. But one of the things you have to consider is price point. This is a $150 machine or less, depending on if it's on sale. Gevi supplied me a discount code down in the description that I'll leave for an extra 5% off. It is a limited time, so if you're interested, you can use that. But in this price point, the downside to any device, and it's not just going to be Gevi, it's going to be the portafilter. I feel everyone has the exact same portafilter, the same pressurized baskets, and while it's good for a beginner and it gives you a lot more tolerance in making a decent cup of espresso, you don't get the opportunity to maybe take a little deeper dive and experiment a little more. So I do still recommend, if you buy this machine, learn with the pressurized basket, but then plan on getting a different portafilter, getting non-pressurized baskets, getting a decent tamper, maybe stepping up a little better grinder, and now you've got a lot more flexibility to play, experiment, try different coffee drinks, and still maintain a fairly low entry point into espresso. So once again, I appreciate Gevi sending this machine. All of my thoughts and opinions are my own. I've been very happy with the previous device I had. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you found it helpful. Would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.